Ipswich 0, Newcastle 4. Welcome to the Blue Monday podcast. I'm in a grump. Dave's told me in the green room, listeners, I'm not allowed to yell crap because he says Newcastle were good. We'll let the comments decide on this. But Dave, I'm not to yell crap apparently.
No, I think that with hindsight, just thinking more about what I said, yeah, there's a couple of moments that deserves it. To be fair, I think. I was just thinking to myself, we haven't had one of those downbeat intros from you for about 3 seasons.
No. When we lost to Norwich, that was annoying.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. But no, not used to that at all, are we? But yeah, it was a chastening experience, I think you'd call it, yesterday.
Good old hammering, Seb. Nothing like it, hey?
Yeah. And the good thing is now it gets easy, doesn't it, with Arsenal and Chelsea to come before 2025 hits us. So yeah, bad day at the office, and I guess we'll get into it. But it is what it is, people. Let's not overreact too much.
Yeah, that's what we do, isn't it? Hey, it's a good point in the comments there when the one Rich just threw up. We did lose 4-0 the corresponding game last year, and then had we were in the middle of a kind of bad run then, and then we basically had a very good run until the end of the season after that. So there you go. Welcome to Blue Monday, an Ipswich Town podcast. Happy bloody Christmas. There is good news, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh.
Our colleague, Mr. Mikey Penty-Smith, has the new tractor boy. I've seen a picture in his arms, little Ruben. So never mind the 4-0 defeat. Our friend, your friend, our colleague, Mikey is a new father. We have a new tractor boy. Get your blue hearts in. Besiege us with them. Get your congratulations in to Mikey, a new member of the family, Ruben Penty-Smith. And we welcome him and we say huge congratulations to Mikey and his missus. Get involved in the comments right here, right now. Get your views in on what went down yesterday. Look, if you want to vent, I get it. It was 4-0 home defeat, wasn't it? You got some positives. We'll happily hear them as well. Let's just can you give me one of your atmosphere kind of did it feel like, Dave, when you went into the ground, what was about to happen was going to happen?
Look, I did just to take it back, prior to that, I did a Newcastle podcast, the Black and White podcast. Excellent. I did that Friday lunchtime. And what the overall thing I come from that? The guy that was presenting it, great lad, basically said, do you know what he said? Where we have struggled this season is against these teams that present us with a low block. And I said, you ain't gonna get that. And I can almost see him sort of rubbing his hands together with anticipation. So look, I think we got there yesterday. Obviously, Newcastle fans, brilliant, all in full voice right throughout not surprisingly right throughout the game, but beforehand as well, superb. And I think it was, we all thought it was going to be difficult without obviously our focal point Delap up front anyway. But to say that we gave them a helping hand is a bit of an understatement, isn't it?
We'll get into that, Seb. Here is your Ipswich Town 11. And we knew it was going to be Liam Delap light, as we discussed on Thursday in the pre-match, Seb. Arrow Muric in goal. More from him later. Clark and Davis, the fullbacks. Burgess and O'Shea. Cayuste and Morsey. Burns, Hutchinson, Smodic, Chaplin. Talk to me about the 11. How did you solve a problem like Liam said? What was the professor's answer?
Well, we didn't solve it. Spoiler alert. We discussed it.
How do you try and solve a problem like Liam?
We discussed it on Thursday night. Would it be Smodic? Would it be Al Hamadi through the middle? I think we both came to the conclusion it would be Smodic with Al Hamadi off the bench at whatever it be, 60, 65 minutes once Smodic has run himself into the ground. And I think we said we have to kind of, alter our tactics a bit. There's no point hitting it long to Smodic because Dan Burn at the back is a giant for Newcastle. And it was a short front three with Smodic kind of in front of them. But it changed a bit throughout the game. There were times when Amari or Chaplin would seem to be kind of the false nine, and yeah, the rest of the team picks itself, doesn't it? The only real debate we had was that Delap replacement. The rest of it, we kind of guessed it would stay the same. The three behind the striker would stay the same.
I had
from Wolves.
Johnson Seb as the right back, to be fair.
Oh, yeah, we did actually, didn't we? Because we thought they'd be a threat down that side, which
really?
they were. Yeah, which they were, weren't they? So yeah, with hindsight, oh well, one of those.
Dave, what's your take, mate?
Yeah, pretty much that. Again, I said I did that Newcastle pod, and I thought it'd be Smonic, so I got that call right. Yeah, it wouldn't have surprised me if they'd gone with, as you said on Thursday, if they'd gone with Johnson, but obviously stuck with Clark. But yeah, other than that, I guess the team pretty much picked itself.
Right, here we go. If you're one of these people who gets offended by Dave cooing over really good Premier League players, don't listen to the next 3 minutes. Here's a Newcastle team. Dubravka in goal, Livramento and Hall are the fullbacks. Cher and the giant Burn, which is a great deep purple song as well. Burn for any 70s rockers in there. Guimarães, Tonali, Willock comes in to central midfield. Murphy, Gordon and Isak. Good side, Dave.
Yeah, excellent. You know, to be fair, they'd hit some form in the last. I mean, they took Leicester. Leicester really weren't very good at the last weekend, but they beat Brentford in the League Cup with exactly the same 11, which was an interesting thing. They played exactly the same starting 11 against Brentford as they did against Leicester at the weekend. And other than the suspended Joe Linton, I guess it was the same again with Willock. Willock coming in for Joe Linton. I mean, mate, there's some quality players in that side. The midfield, so I know we'll get onto this, but the central midfield too of Bruno Guimarães and Tonali, they're up there with the best in the Premier League. They could, I think they could, that central midfield could walk into most Premier League teams. Honestly, unbelievable, brilliant. And right the way through there, your movement, you know, with Murphy and Gordon and Isak's just quality. Tell you who did impress me, Livramento, the fullback's a player, Seb, isn't he? Well, he's a player as well. So yeah, right through the team, 1 to 11. Do you know what? We came away even if we'd had to that. What I took from that game and speaking to other people, even over the curry we had last night, Seb and stuff. Which of our team would get into their team? None. Absolutely none. That's the take you took from it. Yeah, really good. And you know, we've seen Villa, who obviously Champions League down here this season, they were light years ahead of them. Admittedly, Villa, perhaps when we played them, had one eye on Bayern Munich the next week. But yeah, good side. Scarily good, actually.
Seb, you warned us about this midfield, didn't you?
Yeah, seeing them on paper is one thing. Seeing them in the flesh, they were just an absolute next level. I think it's the best central midfield we've seen at Portman Road this season. It's better than the Liverpool one for me on the opening day. I think, they just absolutely ran the game. We'll discuss the opening 30 seconds shortly, but they ran the game. And, I know we say it every week, but the size of these players, I was watching I'm just off the halfway line. So I was looking at the Newcastle kind of warm up and stuff and the shooting drills, they were clinical, and then you see the size of them and you're thinking, right, it's going to be a difficult day. Like Dave just said, if you've got Delap, maybe that's one thing you can look to rough up one of the centre halves or pull onto Shah because he's smaller than Burn maybe. But once you saw them, you thought, right, this is going to be a difficult afternoon. The important thing would be to keep it tight for the first few minutes.
Keep it tight.
Oh dear.
Oh man,
Seb, do I need to warm my tenor range up for the first 30 seconds and yell out the word crap here, or do I need to save that for minute 45 plus 2? I think I'll save it, but you tell me about the first 30 seconds, Seb.
Oh, it's such a mess, isn't it? The kickoff is a strange routine. So Hutchinson's on the right, Burns comes across to the left. Obviously, something is worked on. Presumably, the plan is for Chaplin to ping the ball to Hutchinson for a crossfield. Burns is pretty decent in the air, as we've seen over the last few seasons. So I guess he's going to be the aerial target. And then Leif Davis will bomb on past Burns to win some sort of flick on and get us up the pitch. What actually happens is, obviously, Chaplin puts the ball straight out of play. And then Wes Burns wanders over to the right a lot quicker than Amari Hutchinson wanders over to the left, which leaves a massive gap. Fabian Schär puts a ball down the channel. Burgess did he misjudge the flight of the ball?
He had to come across though, didn't he?
Yeah, I was almost right in front of where it was, and I didn't think he was offside. Murphy, I know it looked a lot closer on the VAR replay, the still, than it was in the stadium. I thought he was onside. He Muric has gestured to stay at home, and then from that point, yeah, it's a mess, isn't it? Obviously, Murphy just drives, put the ball in. Morsey kind of gets a half clearance, and he's got Willock on his back, puts a half clearance, but puts it straight into the feet of Isak, who just fires home, and it's just the absolute worst possible start, isn't it? You know, we're missing our star player. It's going to be a difficult afternoon. A bit like the Man United game, you just can't give gifts like that. It was almost a carbon copy of that, wasn't it? Run down that same side, cross into the middle. You just can't give gifts like that to a side of this quality who are coming in off, the back of a midweek win and a 4-0 win last weekend. Awful start. It just went horribly wrong from literally the first time we touched the ball with that kickoff.
Dave, I've got to defend my football team and my football manager. I guess the messaging is, in these home games, if you're going to have a chance, they're trying to just get on top of them right from the word go. If the crowd's up, they want to do something immediately from the kickoff, try and get that end of the pitch, get some pressure on, because every little helps in the Premier League. The problem is, I remember Nottingham Forest scoring from our centre after about 10 seconds. I think it's Sombalonga scored, didn't he, a few years back?
Yeah.
But it's happened twice now. And in the Man United game, is that going to need to be looked at? That maybe you just need to settle in for 2 or 3 minutes?
This was just horrible, because obviously it was a change of tactic. Because usually it goes back from my memory, home games. It goes back to the right-sided centre back. You know, in recent this past, it's been Wolfenden, and more recently O'Shea, and they hit the diagonal. What you're trying to do, you're quite right. Get us up the pitch early, get a throw, whatever, in the opponent's half, and we'll play from there. This was obviously a change of tactic, where the ball went to Chaplin, and clearly what they're trying to do, as Seb said, is, I guess, as soon as possible, try and isolate Hutchison against Hall, the left back. But it's not very. There's obviously not in the same way for him, because the ball goes out through a throw, and then it's just sloppy. It's just thrown back past the Shah, passed across the back foot of Shah. It's tricky for Burgess. He doesn't know whether to stick or twist, does he? Personally, I think he can attack that ball, but look, we shouldn't knock Burgess. He's been magnificent the last few games, hasn't he?
Dave, sometimes you see red cards in situations like that, where the centre back goes, right, I've got to clean this out,
and then
hang on a minute, I just denied, and exactly.
Yeah, and then Morsey could Morsey not do better there? You know, he kind of sticks a leg out. Could he not just, clear the ball from a corner there? I mean, I know it's practical early in the game, you're picking holes, but he kind of wafts a leg at it, and then it's a good strike. It goes in the ground, isn't it? That's what makes it harder. He hits it into the ground, Isak, and whether Muric does get a touch, but it's in off the bar, and it's horrible. And the agony's compounded by a bloody 3-minute VAR check, which, oh Christ, I think we got away with this. And then, of course, VAR, here we go. And then, of course, it goes 1 minute, 2 minutes. You feel like this is a goal, clearly, because it's close and it's tight, and it's going to be a goal. And yeah, and it was. It's just a worst possible start, horrible start. But yeah, as I say, compounded by the bloody VAR.
Well, we played really well against Man United, Dave, when we went a goal down. Similar here?
Different quality team, different class, honestly. Light years ahead of Man U, honestly. Yeah, I mean, look what happened today, for Christ's sake. But yeah, that point, just absolutely different level, mate.
Yeah, take me up through the next quarter of the game.
I think we respond quite well, don't we? I think we do, actually. It's not too much. Isak has a good chance when they sort of slice through us. I don't think we're really creating much, but we respond quite well. We
had the one where Schmodic got in behind, didn't he? The one time he got in behind.
That's right. And Schmodic and Dubravka, good save. He's on top of him. And he comes out really early. And in difference to Schmodic now, that's a tough, because he's right on top of him and he tries to dink it and he gets a bit of it. That was probably our best chance of the game probably. And then Isak misses a really good chance, really, really good chance. And then this is a horrible goal as well. And I think Isak kind of gets in a central position and switches it wide to Gordon, who kind of just is allowed to cut back. He was non-stop running from start to finish, Gordon, Jesus. And he just cuts back on his right foot and kind of like just slaloms his way around the edge of the penalty box. Does it? No one wants to obviously put in a challenge there, because he's going to go down. And then it's not good from I don't think. It gets he feeds it sort of angle of the box, just inside the box, to Jacob Murphy. To be fair, takes a touch, and probably it's a thunder bastard, isn't it, Ben? It's off the bar.
Yeah, I think it is.
Does constitute
off the bar, yeah.
But Hutchison doesn't do well. He's weak there. If you look at that back, he kind of turns his back, and it's a half-hearted challenge. It's hell of a finish. I don't think you can blame Muric for that, because he absolutely laces it, but it's not great. Someone should surely get a challenge in there. Any challenge, Gordon's probably going to go down. Let's face it. But still, that doesn't excuse it for me. But it's a hell of a thump from Murphy. And 2-0, you're thinking, okay, 2-0. Responded quite well to the first goal. Let's at least keep it 2-0 till half time.
What would you make of the second goal, 7, the kind of period leading up to it? Was it, as McKenna talked in his post-match, I think about the 20 minutes leading up to half-time, as in this being the start of it when it gets loose. But could you see it coming beforehand?
I think so, because there was also that chance where Gordon put the header down into the ground and it narrowly bounced over the bar. I think that was at 1-0, wasn't it? So you could say we had a let-off there as well. Yeah. And then the second goal starts from Tonali from deep, doesn't he? And it's a bit of a powder puff challenge by Connor Chaplin, isn't it? I know Chaplin's not the biggest in the centre circle, but Tonali just kind of brushes off him, drives forward, and then, like Dave just explained, the goal goes there. Should we look to put a challenge in on Gordon as he's kind of running across the 18-yard box? Maybe, but, if you get it wrong in that situation, then yeah, he's going down. It's a penalty, so you've got to be so careful. So yeah, another disappointing one. But given the Gordon header, I don't think we could really have many complaints about being kind of too behind, because they just stepped it up, and they just kind of, the pressing was exemplary all over the pitch, and they were a hell of a side, and we didn't really lay a glove. Let's be honest.
To be fair, I forgot about the Gordon header, and that came down from our left side again. Then it got beyond. Yeah. Hell of a cross from Jacob Murphy right on the byline, just chipped it back. I forgot about that. That was in the ground and over the bar. But yeah, certainly. I don't know if you saw Match of the Day. Summary on Match of the Day: Ashley Williams was not particularly complimentary about Leif Davis, was he? Did you see that at all?
I don't watch Match of the Day.
I do this season.
I've made my views clear on that.
He was scathing of Leif Davis. Yeah.
There you go. Seb, you get loose now.
Yeah, it starts to really get away from us, doesn't it? And obviously it culminates with the third goal. I mean, we must mention the weather was absolutely horrendous. I think after that second goal went in, the rain was really coming.
Okay, good. Keep them coming. Keep them coming.
Keep them coming. It was cold. And then look, you just can't do this at half time. I'm sure this is the point where many people get involved in the chat. I've seen a lot of stuff on social media about Muric. For me, I think Kajust is the one really at fault for this one personally. The trouble is we tried to go long so many times, and I could see Schmodic was just screaming back at Muric, stop playing it long, because he didn't have a hope in hell of winning the ball against Byrne or Shah. And we played that ball out that he plays to Kajust a few times, and it would always been Morsey, and Morsey would just quickly ping it off to Clark in the right back position or O'Shea. He'd move forward and we'd kind of beat the press. But yeah, you've got to manage the game at that point. Is it a minute before the break? You've got to go long. But Kajust for me shouldn't show for it. He's running back. He seems to have a quick look at his left. I think
Muric was it at Hull? Was it at Hull at the end of last season? We're exactly the same. We had the same conversation about Hamilton turning around and
Preston. And Preston. Yeah. And I think Watford was it before Christmas with Hladky. But yeah, I'm not sure Kajust should show for it. Don't give him the option. The ball's played back from O'Shea. Muric kind of takes a touch, and it looks like Muric is going to ping it straight to his left to Burgess, who is in a little bit of space. But I don't know if there's a shout or if Kajust is, giving him something. But he's got Bruno Guimaraes right behind him, and I'm not sure if he's trying to let it come across his body. He's so good, isn't he, at that? Kajust kind of letting the ball come across him and then looking to build. But it's a horror show. Guimaraes gets a foot in. Isak won't score an easier goal all season, will he? And yeah, that's not the time to try it against a side with such high pressing intensity. But I will get on, not on my soapbox, but I'll give Muric a little bit of defence. I don't think Kajust should give him the option.
What's your view? It's a terrible goal, Dave.
It is a terrible goal. It's a howler, because at 2-0 you've got to look. We were never, realistically, we weren't. But at 2-0 you've got to squeak, haven't you? At 3-0 you're done, aren't you? Cooked. Look, Kajust shows, and as Seb quite rightly said, I didn't pick up on that. Schmodic has been sort of almost thrown one at him for saying, look, just don't kick it long. I've got no chance if you're going to kick it. If I had one criticism yesterday, Burns is quite good in the air. Hall wasn't quite, he's quite small left back. Just get it wide to Burns and try. And I think we've done it once or twice, and both times I think he won the ball. But look, look, in hindsight, he's got to kick that long, but he doesn't. Kajust is showing for it, and the press is so strong. Then he gets a little bit unlucky. It just breaks straight to Isak, who's just loitering and the 8 yards out. And there's the ball. Then I'll just stick it in. It's a horror goal. It's just the narrative. Again, the narrative of the timing of the goal was horrible. Yeah.
Park that there, shall we? So 3-0 at half time. Dave Al-Hamadi as a half-time sub for Hutchinson. What was your take
Mate,
on that?
I've got to say, Amari yesterday up against Tonali, and that little boy lost, to be fair. Tonali
Why was he going against them, though? Should he not have been trying to occupy a different space there? Or were they...
That's just how it transpired, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Every time he seemed to get the ball, there was Tonali basically taking the ball off him. Basically, he's an absolute beast. Oh, player he is, flipping heck. Yeah, I mean, I guess with perhaps an eye on the game was lost. So again, with perhaps an eye
on his two former clubs coming up, yeah.
Yeah, maybe an eye on that. To be fair, and he wasn't having any. Well, he wasn't the only one, but he was not having any joy at all. So, yeah, it was, I guess, a natural thing. Perhaps a little bit more physicality in that position with Smodic's moving there and Al Hamadi getting certainly a whole of the second half.
Seb, do you want to take us in from the start of the second half? It's one of those. I know it sounds like win the second half. Try and get something for you. Everyone says it. You kind of playing a side that was in the Champions League. What was it last season? I think last season, wasn't it? And you 3 down at half time, and it's like, well, throw men forward and lose 5, or just take a 3-0 defeat. It's a hard one, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It's complete damage limitation at that stage, isn't it? I thought Al Hamadi did okay. There was one moment he got kind of played through. Chaplin played a first time through ball, and you just, you're missing that Premier League kind of touch and awareness and power and pace, aren't you? He struggles to get out of his feet. But I thought he looked okay. But then, the killer kind of comes on. Well, they hit the post first, didn't they? They had this flowing move. It's a brilliant move, and ends up with Guimaraes kind of flicking in a header that comes off the post. So again, you get a bit of an early warning, and then there's 55 minutes, the fourth goal, and it's nice football, isn't it?
That's a great goal. Yeah,
it is. Yeah,
the others you can get annoyed about, but the back heel is brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah, and the one touch from Livramento and Murphy, they're playing kind of one touch passes, and they find Bruno Guimaraes in the centre. He kind of pings it into Gordon, who's come more central. He finds Isaac Burgess, cuts it out, does okay, but then Murphy picks it up, and he's got 3 players around him and still manages to take them all out of the game with that back heel. And then Isaac just kind of
Dave's itching to say something, Seb. What's coming now?
Again, he is allowed. It's kind of weak though. He's allowed to. Again, it's that whole situation with the Gordon with the second goal, isn't it? That he sort of tiptoes his way into the box, and you can see the defenders just not wanting to put in a challenge there. And Seb's got right. He runs into like a cul-de-sac, and it's a brilliant bit of skill, and it's really.
You don't expect that to happen then once you run him into the cul-de-sac, Dave, do you?
Found some form, isn't he? Brilliant bit of skill.
Against us, yeah.
Pretty much similar finish to the second goal, wasn't it? The third goal.
Yeah, just rolls it home. And then you're thinking, right, it's 4. They've just hit the post, a header in the first half. I think a minute later, Willock goes through, he beats Clarkson, he goes through one-on-one, but thankfully kind of completely shanks it wide. And at this point, you're just thinking, this needs to be just shut down now.
Was that Willock chance from the volleyed pass from Guimaraes?
Oh, what a ball that was. Yeah, what a pass that was.
Don't praise the opposition, guys. People get really cross with us.
Sorry, yeah, it's a pretty average volleyed Paul Scholes type pass. Sorry,
right.
Yeah.
And then very, very little kind of happens after that, does it? Al Hamadi kind of puts himself about a little bit. Broadhead comes on, shows some moments, but at that point, Newcastle are in proper cigar jacket, training game kind of mode, and nothing really kind of happens for the rest of it. I must praise the Blue Action guys and the Cobalt to my right. They've kept the drum going for kind of the last 30 minutes as it was pretty despondent what we were seeing on the pitch. So kudos to them. And then the only thing to talk about after that was that kind of Dan Burn me and Dave spoke last night. We went for a curry afterwards, and we just spoke. Their running was just relentless. Gordon just didn't seem to tire. Isak didn't seem to tire. They just kept going and going. And then in the 90th minute, Dan Burn decides to become kind of Beckenbauer and have a wander up the pitch, and it's ruled out for offside in the end. But I think that was just the thing, whereas, our best players, Liam Delap, etc., is done at 65, 60, 67 minutes. They just kept going. They were relentless all game, and we just couldn't cope with it.
Again, what brought it home for me yesterday as well, Seb, and Ben, the quality of the bench. On 64, they bring on Trippier, Harvey Barnes and Sean Longstaff. I mean, just different levels again, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, really, really, really disappointing, Dave, this one, because there's... So we've spoken about, and McKenna said it himself again yesterday, we need to be close to 100% to win games. We've said the same thing on the podcast. We need to be... Everything needs to be online. We need to probably get a nice refereeing call. We need need the other team to start badly. We need to get a bit of luck. We need the crowd up. We need one of our shots to hit the post and go inside. And all needs to be online this year with a team that was in League One 2 seasons ago. I don't know if I've mentioned that on the podcast at any point this season. But Dave, home defeat, not scored, early goal conceded, another one of these just irritating goals where I think half of the arguments amongst our fan base are just the annoyance that the wider casual football watching public who haven't seen what we've done over the last 2 years. And I get them having this opinion, Dave, would look at that and go, that's a bit stupid. What are Ipswich doing? They haven't got as good of players as everyone else. Why are they losing goals like that? And it's so frustrating, isn't it? Could have gone 4-5. Oh, just rationalise this for me, Dave. Really disappointing one, wasn't it?
It's just how we play. You're going to lose goals like that. I mean, when after 26 seconds, whatever it was, the ball's in our net. But Leif Davis is, when the ball's played from Shah, Leif Davis is probably trying to close down Shah in the, wide as in left winger, deep in their half. And whilst that is the case, and people are what do they have? They know who we play. They know we play. Davis is such an outlet. Davis is going to sort of abandon his post, so to speak, and push that far forward. They're good enough. All these teams are just so good that they're going to exploit that game after game. So,
Dave, Eddie Howe spoke about Murphy playing down the right, and he said, I think, what did he say? He had a specific pressing job to do. So he's literally been briefed on. Yeah, there's going to be a gap there, and if you press here, the space is going to be there. Yeah, so you're right.
So does this need a rethink? I saw a post today saying, well, perhaps does Greaves come in and slot, still play Davis wide there, but we go with a 5? God knows, I don't know. It's the way we play. Like I said on that podcast, like I said Friday lunchtime, the Newcastle one, we're not going to play any different. We're really not going to play any different. So. Yeah, does this need a rethink? Look at the games we've got coming up. Arsenal, I know I hate that phrase, but Arsenal, 27th, Friday? It's a free hit, that game, isn't it? What you don't want to do is absolutely get well and truly demolished. You don't want that. Chelsea, to an extent, is the same. So, yeah, it's a tough one. It's a tough one to call that, Ben. Yeah, I think if we're going to have any chance of staying up. It's not the games like yesterday. I hate this again. It's not that game that will define our season. It's the points at home that we haven't taken off Bournemouth, Palace, Everton, and the 1 point we took off Leicester. Ultimately, that's probably just not going to be enough for us, is it?
Maybe not. And we spoke, Seb, didn't we, on Thursday, that when Dave's right about those games, but they're gone, and then you look at the block of 3. And you're like, what's your best chance of winning against Newcastle, Arsenal, and Chelsea? It's Newcastle at home. This is obviously pre-Delap being suspended. So, yeah, what's your rationalisation of this one? It feels like a damaging one, Seb, when we were so hyped up after the Wolves. I think feels like there's a lot of nuances that are bad in this one, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's brought everyone straight back down to earth after the the glory scenes at Molineux a week previously. And yeah, for me, I have to give credit to the opposition. I don't feel as bad about this one as I did, for example, the West Ham one or the Everton one, because they were nowhere near Newcastle's level. Sometimes you have to hold your hands up and say, they were literally better in every single part of the pitch than us. It was men against boys at times. I'm looking down the line and seeing Hutchinson, Smodic and Chaplin with Dan Burn in front of them, and he's literally, you're talking, he's half a metre taller than them and stuff, and it's just, it did look like men at boys at times, and it's probably going to happen a few more times this season. I think we have to be realistic. It might happen at the Emirates on Friday night. We
haven't had one at home, have we, Seb?
Not yet. No, obviously West Ham away, the 4-1 away again, early goal conceding there. But at home, and also recently, we've tightened up pretty well defensively since Burgess has come back in. Most defeats are only by the odd goal and stuff. So it's the first time we've seen it at home. I mean, you could probably say the weekend before Christmas, and it's the first time you're getting smashed at home. Potentially, that's a lot of people might have thought it would happen earlier in the season with Liverpool on the first day and stuff. So yeah, I think you just have to park it and move on. It's happened. It's probably going to happen again. We have to be realistic. But I know what you mean by damaging one. It does bring you back down to earth after the scenes at Molineux last week.
Get your thoughts in via the comments. We won't go to questions just yet. We're going to go to the Premier League roundup after this word from our sponsors.
Blue Monday is proudly brought to you in partnership with our friends at Atwell Solicitors, your ideal legal partner for work on property or business law. Their client care has repeatedly been recognised as outstanding, and they are people-focused with a plain English approach which sets them apart. They have offices in Ipswich, Colchester and London, and to find out more, head to atwells.com.
Thank you, and a Merry Christmas to all the wonderful people at Wells and also the people at One Stop Badges. You can see just down there below Dave. If you look in the description here over on YouTube, you can grab your details to go and get a discount over at One Stop Badges. We have a plan. Wise man once said to me, our plan is just a starting point, and we're going to try and get through Christmas with all these billions of games coming up. There should be an Arsenal rewind coming for you on Monday, which is tomorrow as we're recording, but you may not be listening until then. That will be the 23rd. On Thursday morning, we're going to hear from Seb pre-Arsenal. It won't be a normal sort of length pre-match, but we know you've got stuff to do, so we'll try and slot that into your routine. Sunday, we will be flagshipping and kind of previewing Chelsea. Dave and Craig, hopefully some good Jonathan Terrence references. I've got a Chelsea rewind. One of my favourites. I hope he gets a mention. Dave, does he?
There may even be some Marcel Desailly in there. Maybe.
As long as you use Jonathan Martin Terrence. I don't know what his middle name is. I've just made that up. I need some good mentions of him. And then we'll figure out where we go from there. All I'll say is there'll be loads and loads of content coming up, and there's been loads and loads of goals in the Premier League. Let's have a little look at what went down in association with the wonderful people at Innovation Labs. Aston Villa 2, Man City 1. So Man City will probably just be cooking again right in the middle of January. Would that sound about right? Brentford 0, Forest 2. Go on the Forest. I'm quite enjoying them now. West Ham 1, Brighton 1. Reasonably helpful. Nothing, Seb, is really that helpful when you lose 4-0 at home, is it? Palace 1, Arsenal 5. I'll take it with the caveat I just gave. Everton 0, Chelsea 0. Everton are annoyingly better than they were a couple of months ago. Solid, yeah. Fulham 0, Southampton 2. Good result for Southampton, and a new manager in. So maybe I'll get you to talk about them. Leicester 0, Wolves 3. Joe Fairs was right about Leicester's ability to concede chances under Ruud van Nistelrooy, but we could do without Wolves winning. Hey, running Bournemouth close at home isn't for everyone, is it? Man United 0, Bournemouth 3. I don't quite know what to make of Spurs 3, Liverpool 6. That's there's bad news and irrelevant news, and we'll file that under the irrelevant news. Would one of you like to talk about Southampton and a new manager? And would one of you want to talk about Southampton?
I saw it was a game, wasn't it? It was a live game this afternoon. I saw bits of it, and I saw Ramsdale kick it long about 3 or 4 times.
Love it. Get it forward, Dave. 2 up front.
Absolutely, honestly, massive change of approach already. You can see it, and hence maybe a bit more solid performance there. But yeah, I don't know what the possession. I should have checked before I came on what the possession stats were.
I'm going to check for you now. Keep talking.
I bet it wasn't the usual Southampton levels. You're probably going to say it was 65 now, aren't you?
Keep talking. I'm getting there.
So no, it certainly looked like a different
43 Southampton, 57.
Oh, there you go. Looks like much different approach. So let's hope that's not let's hope that doesn't set a worrying trend, but at least they didn't win. And I guess I know Seb,
we're heading off to Fulham, Dave, so it's good to see Southampton get something in. Maybe we can get the win there, can we?
Of course we can. I think the Wolves Leicester's a good result for us, is it? Because it's dragging Leicester, it's keeping Leicester back in their bench, surely.
Dave, 3 teams go down though, mate. We need lots of them. We'll go to the table in a minute.
Yeah.
Seb,
We
do you want
were debating in the pub yesterday, weren't we? Did we want to draw in the Wolves-Leicester game, or what was if there's 3 points available, do you want one to go into the ether and, they're kind of split and it keeps Wolves a little bit at bay, but then Leicester gets slightly further ahead? So I think I'm inclined to agree with Dave. I don't mind. I know we've dropped a place. I know we've gone down to 19th on the goal difference because they've scored 3, but I don't think I mind that because you don't really want Leicester to have a honeymoon period and get themselves away, and they are conceding so many chances. They appear to be so open. I know they're missing the keeper, and Danny Ward is in the sticks for them, but they seem to be conceding a lot of chances, and you just got to hope that their fixture list now is tricky. I think it's Man City next. I think they've got Liverpool maybe, and they've certainly got Villa, I think, the first weekend of January.
Sorry to interrupt, mate. They only conceded 8 shots today. They actually won the shot count, but all of those shots appeared to go in today.
Wow.
Yeah, and obviously Cunha was allowed to play. He's been charged, but he has a right of appeal on that one. So yeah, I've just new manager bounce, perhaps maybe for Pereira at Wolves. But yeah, the more I think about it, I'm not too fussed on that one because it just keeps Leicester involved rather than slightly getting away from us.
And a Leicester win today would have been five points adrift. So yeah,
that's a nightmare result. Yeah, I guess even the point gets them a little bit of momentum.
Yeah. We'll have a look at the table now. Ladies and gentlemen of the live chat, please get your questions in now for these 2 fine gentlemen next to me, and we'll go to them as soon as possible. So, Southampton well adrift there, 6 points adrift at the bottom, but we do have a new manager in there, and I don't know whether that'll facilitate some type of improvement. They look gone, I have to say, but stranger things have happened. And then, Dave, we've always spoken about, Seb even mentioned it a minute ago, wanting as many close by, although it feels Everton are close by in points, but not in form or anything else. Everton and Palace look at, I don't know. Talk about that league table.
I think it's going to be 3 from 4. I honestly do. I think Palace have got enough.
That's why I don't want Wolves winning, Dave. That was my point. I don't want anyone winning, especially not Newcastle.
I get you. The ideal thing, I suppose, is a draw there. But yeah, the worst, by far the worst scenario was a Leicester win today, I think. So I honestly think it is going to be perm 3 from 4. I think Palace have got too much, haven't they? From what we saw at Portman Road, I know they got thumping, but I used to say it was
who's up next for us?
Shit. And Everton, yeah, you're right. Look, they're obviously solid. Look, only -7. West Ham will have enough, and
you can't class West Ham. They're another 4 points clear.
Yeah, I know. Dave, I honestly think it's going to be 3 from 4, and I think it's the 4 bottom clubs now. I think.
It's a good couple of messages I saw in the Telegram group. Apologies, everyone in the Telegram group. I haven't posted since yesterday. I've kept my powder dry. I have been reading though. A couple of people, Seb, saying, "Look, be realistic. We're a win away from safety as things stand, and we're not. When is the halfway for 38 games? So 2 games until halfway, basically. So
yeah, we're not out of it.
Are you still thinking about the bad news?
We're not cut adrift. We're not, we're not miles off it. One win, and we are, we are safe, and that is a brilliant season. That's how we have to look at it. It doesn't matter how we get across the line. If we finish 17th on the final day of the season by a deflected goal in the last minute or whatever, it doesn't matter. It will be an incredible deflection FC. It will be an incredible season, and that's the way to look at it. We're in a 4-game mini league. I think I agree with Dave. Palace, Everton. They are points-wise in touching distance, but I think they were probably in false positions where then they will probably now kind of push on a little bit. And we've just got to make sure that we, get slightly more points than Wolves and slightly more points than Leicester, and we'll be okay. But yeah, we're not cut adrift. If we were sat here as Southampton fans tonight, it's a pretty, it's a desolate place to be, isn't it? Yeah. We're not in that boat. We've had this incredible 2 years. We have to be a bit realistic. Was it 6 of the team yesterday with a League One side again? I know we keep mentioning it, but these are the facts. And yes, two tough games to come now to get to the halfway point, but we are in there and we are scrapping.
There we go. Thank you, everybody, for your questions so far. Keep them coming so I can try and avoid the ones that are going to make for awkward conversations. But no, We gotta face this. Do you know what? Should we just go straight to it here? Someone's got to have asked about Muric. So, right, let's get straight into it here. George, can you guys see Muric being dropped? I can't, given Arsenal's set piece threat and Muric's strength with claiming crosses. Can we just talk about the debate first, Dave, though? Because what bothers me slightly is, and we talk about toxic positivity being as toxic negativity. So you get these two factions here, don't you? You get the one who's completely over the top in, he's a liability. He should never play for the club again, and all that nonsense just to make their point.
Ben.
And then, but Dave, then you get the other side is so unhelpful of ignoring glaring errors, and that's as dishonest as the other side, Dave. We need to. Can this be the place where we have a sensible debate where, on the one hand, we can take Joe's point of view of, he's our guy. There's been errors. He'll probably steady off while still acknowledging that there has been problems, Dave. Balance this out for me, man.
You said about it last season. I'm not really comparing last season, but Ladke, and we spoke about the goals that were conceded similar to the third one yesterday. And there's probably 3, 4, or 5 others like that last season, but you're up against championship strikers that aren't as clinical. They just are, every mistake you make in the Premier League, okay, they're glaring mistakes. I warrant that. I just punish, Ben. Everyone is punished.
Do you remember the one against Blackburn where he came out back and saved it?
No, honestly, there's absolutely clinical finishing. So, yeah, the answer is, and he makes a very good point. Certainly against Arsenal, no, he's never going to drop him against Arsenal because he will. If he is, I say that's a bit harsh. If he is I think one of his strong points is, look at the size of him, 6'5", whatever he is, 6, is commanding his box, and he will come for corners, and he will catch balls, and he will get there first. It's just, look, he's odd bit of decision making. No way will he be dropped. No way. Certainly not for the Arsenal game. No.
Seb, what's your point? I guess I have a problem with both sides who are being extreme about this, because you can't ignore that there's been problems just because you're emotionally attached to your club and you want to defend a player against criticism, which is unfair sometimes. And you can't be unfair about the criticism, but I don't necessarily think dropping him is a solution, Seb, is it?
No, I don't think so. I expect him to start and remain the number one for the rest of the season. I think the problem is we've just referred to the Ladke ones. I think I mentioned it earlier in the season. Ladke's first real Rick was Watford, wasn't it? Which was like December time. So we had a lot of credit in the bank.
And we won the game. And it was immediately forgotten.
That was the difference, Ben.
Exactly right. It was immediately forgotten. We won the game.
We were there, Dave, weren't we? Yeah.
It does it a couple of months later against Preston, did it against Hull in that game at the end of the season. But we just kind of accepted it because we saw so many times, obviously, he was the kind of the starting point for so many great moves. I think the problem is Ladke kind of had an error on his debut at Man City, didn't he? Had the rush of blood.
Can I just really quickly interject as well? Yeah. From a narrative point of view, Ladke was a great story. He came in from Salford and he got the shirt from nowhere. Whereas Muric is a massively expensive goalkeeper signed from above. I think those disparities in the narrative, they don't help Muric and they did help Ladke. Do you think that's fair?
Yeah, that's very fair, because I've heard a lot of comments, in the last couple of days saying we should have kept Ladke, and I don't think Ladke would be up to it at this level, because given his size, we see what we're up against every single week. Ladke, is he better with the ball at his feet and better making decisions at championship level, perhaps, but we have no idea how he would have done in the Premier League. And Muric's physicality, the size of him, the ability to come and claim those crosses is absolutely crucial. So I don't think he will be dropped. I just can't see it, because what do you do then? If Walton comes in and, God forbid, had a Maidstone, for example, where he wasn't great and didn't cover himself in glory, what do you do then? You're in real trouble. So no, I think he starts. I think you've got to back your man. And yeah, the sad thing is, I think we're in a world now where people kind of are ready to jump on his back at anything, and I still maintain I blame Kiyus more. Like, he needs to hold his hands up. He should have gone long. He should have, Muric should have gone long. Freudian slip. Muric should have gone.
Freudian frip.
Should have gone long, but I don't think Kiyus should give him the choice. But yeah, it's the world we're in. He's cost a lot of money. Could we have got better? Probably not, given the kind of the pool we were purchasing from, and we've just got to back our man. And we've seen his shot stopping is great. He's kept us in games at time. His aerial claiming from crosses and set pieces will be crucial at the Emirates, I would imagine, on Friday night. And we have to accept that there are going to be these ricks every 3, 4, 5 games.
Because that's how he's told to play. That's how we play. That's it. I don't think we're going to change. We're not going to change that. That is how we play. And you must. How often does he play that pass? Infinite amount of times during the week on the training ground. Must that move that it's a Morsey or Kayuse where the quick ball, the switch to Clark, the switch to Davis, usually to Clark. I mean, or whoever's fullback. Yeah, it's just not gonna stop. But like I'm saying, you are going to get punished. And you're quite right, Seb. The narrative from last season was, yes, we did make a few errors. Okay, Preston game perhaps aside, but we went on to score 3 or 4 goals anyway and ultimately win or get something from these games. So in some ways, it was overlooked, wasn't it?
I think as well, Dave, there's a overriding sense of frustration when you're a promoted EFL team in the Premier League. And it's very complex because, I mean, I don't want to go up and get on my match of the day soapbox, but they don't appear to understand the actual situation promoted teams are in. They just seem to be happy to just say how terrible they are and that they're naive and stupid and all of this. And,
I personally
never
think...
quite look. They're probably not. Let me finish my thought, Dave. They're probably not gonna, go down my big rant of moaning about the pyramid. But the point I'm long-windedly getting around to making is there's this kind of sense of frustration that you're in this semi-impossible situation, and the keeper effing up is something tangible people can get frustrated about, isn't it? And it's I get it. It's fine, and everyone can react using whatever information they decide. And I think there's a bit of that anyway. Sorry, Dave, come in, mate.
No, honestly, I think far worse than perhaps yesterday, or maybe we were 2-0 down at the time, but probably far worse for me was the decision making for the first Bournemouth
And
goal.
McKenna said that, yeah.
Yeah, that was worse for me. McKenna's not gonna bollock him out for what he did yesterday. That's just how it is. That's how we play. But yeah, worse for me, like I said, was perhaps oh god, they're totting up now. Of course he should be dropped. No, was the indecision for the indecision for the Brentford cross. Oh no,
get on the bus.
I'm digging him up. I'm digging him out, aren't I? Yeah, no. Anyway, bottom line is he will be in. He'll be between the posts for Friday. He will.
There we go.
Yeah.
This question from Pete, Seb, kind of fits in with my Premier League casual fans versus people who actually understand the whole of the English pyramid. Where are we placing McKenna's stock right now? Is there a world where he stays? Where are we to go down? Is Andrew's job the elephant? There's going 3 questions like that. I think, Seb, people who have a full understanding of what it means, A, to manage in the EFL without parachute payments and actually understand how the EFL works. B, people, and I've got to admit, I didn't understand this until Ipswich got promoted, and I studied the bloody EFL, how hard this is when you're actually up, and how much of a unicorn Sheffield United or Leeds finishing 9th is, and then where are they now? They're back in the EFL, So what I'm saying is, I think if you have an understanding of the whole of the English football pyramid, McKenna's stock, it surely is still absurdly high. But I don't think there's a world where he stays if we go down. But what's your view?
I'd be very surprised. I think you've nailed it, to be honest. Yeah, if you kind of look at looking at the whole pie, Jenny. If you look at the job he's done, it is without a doubt phenomenal. I guess in the summer when we're on all the front of all the the podcasts, everyone's discussing the promotion. His stock is sky high. I don't think it's that far down from that now. It's probably not as high as it was in the summer, but I still think that various clubs and CEOs throughout the land will have his name very, very high at the top of their lists for potential recruitment. I guess perhaps if he says there about is Angie's job the elephant in the room, I guess Areola must be further along the line for a job for the top sides potentially. I guess there'll be a hefty compensation clause to pay for McKenna, so Daniel Levy might not fancy that. But I'd imagine, the Bournemouth chap's probably the first in line. But I'd be shocked if McKenna wasn't second or third, and I'd be surprised if we get relegated and he's in the dugout on the first day of last season. I would be really surprised, if I'm being honest.
You'd really have to drop the ball badly for his stock not to either just level out. I mean, Dave, for his stock to continue going up at the same rate, we'd have to be like 7th or something, wouldn't we?
Yeah, we'd have to be certainly mid-table. Yeah. No, I'd say his stock is plateauing at the moment, probably. Yeah.
From a massively lofty point where he was linked
From
with
a
every.
ridiculously, obviously, could lose the next.
Oh, Dave, I
no,
said the hottest manager in English football, and not as hyperbole in
without doubt,
yeah,
just
in summer.
sensation. Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah.
Dave, Seb and I'll get into this. How do we set up defensively in the next two matches? You already mentioned, if this pattern of play is wedded to a formation, which hopefully it isn't, then it'll be no different. But can you get some extra cover in there and still maintain the?
I mean, obviously for the Arsenal game. Obviously, for the Arsenal game, a slightly different dynamic, which you haven't mentioned. There's no Sam Morsey, of course. So it'll be interesting.
No Bukayo Saka. We'll get onto this.
But no Bukayo, yes, and no Bukayo Saka. Very good point.
He's better than Sam Morsey. So who's the real losers?
Exactly. You were grimacing at that point. Yeah, no Bukayo Saka. No, just to take you back. So sorry, I digress. But I remember, and we did this on the Rewind pod, just very, very quickly on a similar note. The last time we played Arsenal in the Prem, when we lost 2-0, Lundberg scored 2 just before we went down. I went with a few pals, parked up at, I don't know, Potter's Bar or Southgate or somewhere up that way. Got the underground in with a load of with some of the wives and girlfriends from the town players, including Jamie Clapham's other half, who was quite interesting. Who said, "Yeah, Jamie's really looking forward to playing against Thierry Henry and Dennis Bergkamp." So I guess either who would it be, Leif Davis or perhaps Harry Clark, maybe Ben Johnson, whoever it would be. It's got perhaps knowing that perhaps they're going to play Arsenal on Friday, it's probably sighing a bit of a sigh of relief that Bukayo Saka's not playing. But anyway, what was the question?
How do we set up defensively? Nice digression, though, Dave.
Yeah, I mean,
I've forgotten we lost 4-0.
Yeah. I honestly, yeah. So, like I said, Morsey. So you would think you're starting from there, from a defensive midfielder point of view. Phillips, but we haven't gone to Phillips. Phillips, I thought.
There's a question about Phillips. So
okay, we'll
hold that. We'll do that in a second.
Do we stick in another defender? God, I don't know. Do we play Greaves and go with a 5 and just invite them on? Is that just
the solution, Dave? And it's something that I'm going to open the box. You want some Scugless?
Oh, come give me some.
That'd stop Arsenal. I'm sorry. Just stick with Hyamsey as well.
Rigid in a 3.
Get Hyamsey in there. Anyway, Dave wants to talk about Calvin Effin Phillips. So does Coaster Beast. He's got a picture of a roller coaster there as his avatar.
Wow, look at that.
How do you think, Seb, KFP, thank you for using his correct name there, was coming off the bench?
I thought he looked all right. He played a few kind of pinged out passes to the right wing. First time we must have seen him in. Was it the Leicester? He hasn't featured since Leicester, has he? I know he's been on the bench a few times, but not since the red card. Did McKenna say it's the first full week since he's been here that he's been able to train fully? So that's encouraging. And yeah, I presume he will be the starter in the Morsey role alongside Kiyust at the Emirates. I thought he looked okay, and hopefully we can now get a decent run out of him because we need it so badly, don't we? We've just waxed lyrical about the Newcastle midfield. If we've got any hope of competing with these kind of players, we need the 2021 Calvin Phillips, England's Player of the Year central midfielder, to show up, get a good run of form, and hopefully start to deliver. Kicking
lumps out of his England teammate Declan Rice. He's only up against Declan Rice and Thomas Partey. Weak.
We'll get onto those two in the preview show that Seb and I are gonna really enjoy recording. It's great, this podcasting life.
Love it.
All right, let's do one more question here. Dave from Gary. How and where do we strengthen in Jan, as we could probably dereg Ogbene, giving us space for one addition? Who else could go?
Well, obviously, I think we probably need another striker because, although we're hearing that George Hurst is going to be fit at some point in January, but bless George, we can't really depend on his fitness. So we think that, and I think yes, definitely another right-sided player. I think. I suppose there is a good chance of Ogbene being deregistered. I guess how that works, I'm not really sure, but I guess it probably is. I mean, there was obviously speculation the last week about Calvin Phillips, but now he's obviously seemingly back in the fold, getting some minutes. And yeah, as we said, fully expect him to start against Arsenal. So you think he'd be staying. So yeah, and maybe another fullback, perhaps. Again, they're talking about Twan Zabid potentially coming back, but again, if that's going to be January. Yeah, it's yeah. I think I saw our Joe say earlier on that probably what you're looking for, the best we can hope for, is 2 experienced blue chip Premier League loans in hopefully one of those positions, and go from there. It's
because nobody else is going to want those players, are they, Dave?
Well, but no, yeah, okay, fair point. Yeah, I saw Kiefer Moore flashed in a couple yesterday for Sheffield United, didn't he?
Oh, be still, my beating heart.
Yeah, so yeah, the January window is such a tough one. We've been very fortunate in the last, well, again, different levels, League One and Championship, where we've found the odd nugget in the January window, haven't we, Nathan Broadhead? But yeah, we shall see. But yeah, we certainly do need some help, don't we?
We do, don't we? Sorry, let me just see if I can pull up one more question. There you go. Here's something to be positive about: the return of Liam Delap at Arsenal. We'll talk about that again in the preview show. Every little helps, Seb.
It does, yeah. We missed him so badly yesterday, didn't we? Just not having that option, making the ball stick, having that kind of, all action player at that end of the pitch. We just couldn't deal with it, and Newcastle didn't get him behind once, and yeah, thankfully he's back, well rested. Looked a bit leggy in recent weeks, hadn't he been asked to play an awful lot of football given George Hurst's injury, but hopefully he's had a nice week break and he's ready to get stuck into William Saliba and Gabriel at the back at the Emirates.
Stop doing this.
Oh, no.
Why are you?
No.
Right. We've got to end this podcast now. I'm feeling down. You need to pick me up now. I'm disappointed. I was so excited after the Wolves win, and a bit deflated after yesterday. In all seriousness, Dave, can you close this out? It's one game, isn't it? It was horrible. We've mentioned all the bad things. We have an amazing run behind us. We have a wonderful manager, a group of players that we love. And the thing that's annoying me most about my sheer fucking bad mood today is we knew this was going to happen, Dave, and I'm struggling to cope today. Pick me up.
No, I think the big problem coming from yesterday's game was, look, they were light years ahead of us anyway, but they didn't have to work too hard for the goals. And that's what I think the biggest issue coming out of yesterday was. If we'd have been absolutely smashed by just pure football, which, okay, to a degree we were, but, the goal after a minute, the goal, just on half time, you could say the second goal was quite soft. They're quite soft goals. I think it's more the narrative of the defeat yesterday, because clearly, look, all over the pitch, no matter what we'd have done yesterday, even with Liam Delap, they were clearly better than us. Absolutely lovely side to watch. Really, really nice side to watch. And we did do a lot of watching, to be fair. But yeah, it's just the point is that they just didn't have to work too hard for the goals. So that's I think, the biggest disappointment. And you're quite right. For us to have any chance, we say it week on, week out in this podcast, we have got to play at pretty much 100% and hope these teams are at 80%, And when they're not, these teams of Newcastle calibre, of that sort of ilk, you are going to struggle.
Round it out, Seb.
Yeah, Dave's nailed it there, isn't he? Let's be honest. It was a tough afternoon, but we are still within touching distance of staying up. It's nearly the halfway point. We're not bottom of the league. We're not cut adrift. We're not having to fire our manager to pray for some sort of new manager bounce like the three sides around us have all had to do. And we always get better in the second half of seasons. Has anyone checked if we're playing on Valentine's Day? Because that could be the third year in a row. That
not enough games afterwards. It's not EFL schedule anymore, is it?
The start of the run. January's coming. We'll get some help in, to quote Paul Lambert. Yeah. Whatever you should say. You need to give a bit of help. We'll get some bodies in the building, and yeah, at some point we will win a game at Portman Road. Keep the faith, everyone.
There we go. Well done, guys. I think you've dealt with it really, really nicely. Massive, massive thank you to everybody. I mean, Richard put the tweet out this morning. We're plugging a podcast about a 4-0 defeat, but we love to gather with all of you guys, and I'm sure you're all looking forward to gathering with your loved ones over Christmas. Have a brilliant, brilliant Christmas. Maybe don't think about football over, for a couple of days over Christmas. Forget about this 4-0 defeat. But I know I'm in a bad mood. I think you lot have cheered me up. I think Dave and Seb have cheered me up. Again, massive congratulations to Mikey. See, that's the real, that's the real proper important news
brilliant.
on becoming a daddy to young Ruben. And in the words of Stephen Gerrard, we go again. But after some Christmas dinner, and we thank everybody for joining. It was Ipswich 0, Newcastle 4. This has been Blue Monday, an Ipswich Town podcast, and we wish you a very Merry Christmas. See you soon.